As one of, if not the greatest Sith Lord to ever live, Darth Sidious is known for his mastery of the dark side. His variety of talents are almost unmatched by any other Sith. He could hide himself so well that not even the best Jedi in the galaxy could sense him, and he mastered Force lightning to the point of making his own lightsaber essentially obsolete. When discussing the power of Lord Sidious, these attributes are usually what is focused on, but in our opinion, the Emperor's most overpowered ability is something else entirely. Something that is constantly overlooked. Greetings again, lore junkies, and welcome back to the archives. In today's holocron, we are going to be talking about the single Force ability that made Sidious nearly unstoppable, his unique power of foresight. Before the holocron opens, our seers have had troubling visions of our own. Many of you who are watching have not yet subscribed, so if you wish to continue growing your knowledge about a galaxy far, far away in the Star Wars mythos, then be sure to crush that subscribe button and join our community of acolytes today. It is your destiny. Now, let's begin. Let's address the full power of Sidious first. What kind of magnitude of Sith Lord we're actually dealing with? Sidious was gifted in many dark abilities: foresight, clairvoyance, future sight. All of these terms pertain to the ability to peer into moments in time yet to come. Visions can come in the form of seeing a single instance play out, seeing a complete time lapse, or it may even be a cryptic series of images or dreams that make little sense in the moment. But together, they form a puzzle of mystery. Seeing the future is something that every Force sensitive can do, but only a select few of them can perceive them with clarity, and fewer still can be the ones that can interpret the visions accurately that they receive. Long ago, there was an entire rank of Jedi seers devoted to interpreting prophecies of the Jedi Order. One had to be gifted in peering into the future because the Force is always in motion, as is the future, and visions cannot always be trusted. Brevin once explained that the Force doesn't show you a certain future, but one of many possibilities. It does this through cryptic visions and images which are meant for you to solve. One then should use this to inform their present actions, but because you can only see a single future out of many possibilities, the Jedi believe that the future is perpetually transient. Trying to do things in the present to solve a single possible future can lead to drastic results, and as such, they did not place too much stock in visions due to the danger of one acting out of fear or selfishness. That did not necessarily mean though that they dismissed them entirely. In fact, the Jedi High Council often took them as warnings, and many times, visions saved the lives of Jedi. Often the Jedi open themselves to visions in order to solve an issue with the present rather than the future. This is what we refer to when we mention Jedi seeking the Force for answers or insight. They're looking into a problem in the immediate, not trying to discern a far-off outcome. This was how Jedi Master Yoda taught Jedi to search through the Force. It is how Yoda meditated, and when he received the vision of the future, he handled it with great care and great caution. The threads of the future spread out like a web, seemingly infinite in their direction. It was the Jedi way for the Force to reveal just one of these threads, and even then, only a portion of it. But this is where Darth Sidious was different. Sidious's approach was not to wait for the Force, nor to accept a single portion of its revelation. He plumbed the depths of the future unyieldingly, grasping the threads of time by the throat, and making them spill their secrets only to him. In the novel Labyrinth of Evil, Sidious had seen the future and organized a trap for Anakin and Obi-Wan. Dooku was watching as the two Jedi were entering on a security camera, and was amazed at how they were following every step that Sidious predicted. These are his thoughts in the passage. Once again, Sidious had divined the actions that they would take well in advance of their own deciding. The talent had less to do with being able to peer into the future than having access to streams of possibilities. Sidious wasn't unerring. He could be surprised or taken off guard, as he was at Geonosis, as is the case with Gunray's Mechno chair, but not for very long. His mastery of the dark side of the Force endowed him with the power to decipher the currents that comprised the future, and to comprehend that while those currents were manifold, they were not boundless. The words of Dooku are complex, but the meaning is this: Sidious did not believe the future was infinite. Vast, yes, but not incomprehensibly so to one with his power. Sidious is unique in the way that he looks at the future. It keeps him from insanity, and it allows him to use this power to his advantage. Sidious manually pulls back the curtains of mystery and beholds a wide array of possible futures. Sidious can then look at what actions will lead to what outcome. The Dark Lord then selects the future he desires and makes preparations in the present to ensure that outcome. As Dooku pointed out, it wasn't perfect. Palpatine was capable of being surprised because the future is transient, and unexpected things can occur outside of his control. For instance, while he was planning for the Jedi's arrival on Geonosis and their using of the clones, he did not anticipate Yoda joining the fight directly, and he did not foresee him challenging Dooku. That forced Dooku to reveal himself early, confirming that he was in fact a Sith Lord. He also did not foresee Gunray's Mechno chair would fall into the hands of the Jedi. This was dangerous because the chair contained private recordings of Gunray and Sidious's conversations, giving the Council official evidence that Darth Sidious did exist. This led them to track down Sidious on Coruscant, and even directly led to Palpatine's inner circle. He was therefore forced to accelerate his plans for the Battle of Coruscant in order to keep his identity hidden. But despite the occasional anomaly, this was why Sidious always seemed to be in control of everything. He could manipulate the present using his apprentices, agents, spies, political connections, and all other means for the purposes of the grand plan. Dooku once admitted that the depths of Sidious's machinations were maddeningly complex, to the point where even he had trouble unraveling a portion of them. Because of Sidious's rare power and clairvoyance, and his ability to act on it where the Jedi and other Sith were afraid, Sidious perpetually had pieces moving in all corners of the galaxy to achieve his goals, leading to as many desired outcomes as possible. Without the ability to see those futures with the same clarity that Sidious could, it would have been absolutely impossible to figure out all of his plans. But Sidious doesn't stop here. Adding on to this ability is the ability of foresight, which is a subsect of clairvoyance. Foresight is the ability to see visions of people or places as they appear at the time of observance. In other words, it was the ability to throw one's vision to another place in the present, even if that place were on the other end of the galaxy. These visions allowed them to determine if a friend was in danger, or what may be occurring somewhere in their absence. But foresight does not just tell them the present of that far-off location, but also the immediate future as well. For instance, when Luke was able to sense that his friends were going to suffer on Cloud City, this was how Sidious perceived that Vader was in danger on Mustafar, and how he knew to act as quickly as possible. In the novelization, Yoda had already tipped him off that Kenobi was taking down Vader, which was something Sidious laughed at initially. But after his battle with the Grand Master, Sidious decided to cast his gaze to Mustafar, and he was filled with a profound foreboding. His powers and foresight also allowed him to perceive the thoughts and intentions of certain beings or discover the truth of a matter, even if the Force itself wanted to hide it. In the form of a certain point of view books, we get a story about Palpatine using the Sith shrine beneath the Jedi Temple to discern the identity of the rebel pilot that has destroyed the Death Star. He peered even deeper, plumbing into the depths of the fantasies of his apprentice Vader using the shrine. The Force then began to resist him, attempting to hide something. But Sidious pushed through, using his power to dominate the very will of the Force. And through this, he discovered that not only was Luke the son of Anakin, but that Darth Vader was aware of his identity as well, and that Vader desired to use Luke to overthrow the Emperor. Say what you will, but being able to tear this knowledge from the Force is a complete OP moment. This became the reason that Dooku was fanatically loyal to his master. Dooku believed that Sidious basically was omniscient and could not lose, which ironically is exactly what Sidious once said of his own master Plagueis. Vader often felt the sting of his alleged omniscience as well. The Emperor was always 2 steps ahead, and was rarely surprised by anything, including his apprentice. The one weakness to all of this, though, is Palpatine's own hubris. For a while he was careful, smart, measured. He placed a lot of stock in his own visions, but he would have them confirmed by other potent seers under his will. Sometime during the Clone Wars, he discovered a cult known as the Prophets of the Dark Side. They were historic offshoots of the Rule of Two. They each had the same talents and future sight as Sidious did, but in some cases, even greater. The prophets served the will of the future through means of the dark side. Sidious made them his personal cult, and would include them in all of his clairvoyancy. Anytime he had a vision, he would confirm it with the prophets first, before taking any measures to ensure a desired outcome. And in turn, the prophets would consult Sidious with what they had seen in their own visions. However, just days before the Battle of Endor, the prophets of the dark side issued a dire warning to their master. They stated that if he went to Endor, that he would meet his end. At this point, Sidious had been entirely focused on attaining Luke Skywalker. Thus far, every attempt he made against the boy's life had failed. He even sent his very best assassin, Mara Jade, after the boy, and she too had not managed to successfully eliminate him. And so, Sidious created the perfect trap, leaking information about the incomplete Death Star 2 directly to the rebellion. They would attempt to take out the shield generator, but he had stationed a legion of his best troopers on the forest moon waiting. The Death Star was fully armed and operational, so the Rebel fleet would be of no issue, and Luke Skywalker, who had been the sole reason the first Death Star was destroyed, would be on the battle station himself. There, he could use the rebellion's failure to manipulate the boy to the dark side, replacing Vader and keeping himself in power. His plan was literally perfect, at least on paper. What he did not account for was the will of the Force or the fact that Luke's heart was pure. But most importantly, for all of his clairvoyancy, he failed to sense the growing conflict within his own apprentice. His own bias about the absolution of the dark side blinded him to the growing flickers of the light. Rather than listen to the prophets, he laughed in their faces before becoming enraged, forcing them to flee before his wrath. And so, though his foresight was practically overpowered, his own overconfidence in it became his ultimate downfall. This was something that even Luke would point out. This ability continues to make Sidious extremely fascinating and dangerous. Palpatine was naturally gifted in clairvoyance and foresight, but more than that, Palpatine did not respect the will of the Force in the way that the Jedi did, or even in the way most Sith did. He did not treat the future as something to be cautiously interpreted or humbly accepted. He didn't even seem to fear the Force. Instead, whenever he caught glimpses of a desirable outcome in the future, he reached out aggressively, preparing in advance to force reality into alignment with his vision. Sidious didn't merely observe fate. He believed himself powerful enough to manufacture it. In his mind, the Force was not a guide, a balance, or even a master. It was a tool. And that belief is what allowed him to become something far more dangerous than a gifted seer. He became a self-appointed architect of destiny itself. But anyway, my friends, this was Palpatine's strongest ability that no one seems to acknowledge. So tell us, did you already foresee his mastery of future sight? Or did this take you by surprise? And if you had to choose one power to have in real life, be it clairvoyancy or something else, what would you consider? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, may the Force be with you.